So we're going to move on to what we feel are the individual best 11s for Punjab to put forward. We start with Veer. So Veer, do you want to share your best 11 and why you chose some of these players?
Yeah, sure. So I'm obviously assuming all the overseas players do come in time and they like quarantine and whatever. So my best 11 to start the season would be KL and Gale at the top, Mayank at 3, then Nicholas Pooran, Maxwell, Karan Nair, Deepak Hooda, Bishnoi. Then at 9, either Jordan or Cottrell. I think I'd probably start with Jordan, given how he bowled yesterday against Australia. But I think Jordan and Cottrell, they're quite interchangeable in that number 9 position. And then 10, Ishan Porel, and 11, Shami. I think that's the team I would choose to start the season. As if Gale is kind of cold at the start, I think he can be slotted out for Mandeep Singh or one of the other Indian openers, and Mujib can be gotten in. But I think for the start of the season, that's quite balanced. I think it's batting heavy. It's all the match winners are in the batting department. I think Punjab knows that. I think the management knows that. KL knows that. So I think you might as well kind of go really heavy there. Look to kind of be able to put up a good score if you're batting first, be able to chase everything. And I think our bowling wise, we have a couple of attacking options in terms of maybe Shami and Bishnoi and perhaps Jordan or Cottrell. I think bowling is very much about containing the opposition, being quite defensive, just trying to restrict the opposition as much as possible and know that whatever score the opposition gets, if it's 180, 190, I think we back ourselves to chase that. So yeah, that's my best 11.
Oh, wait, I just had a couple of questions with that. So
Yeah.
who was at 6 for you? Because I know Hooda was at 7. So 6 was Karan Nair, right?
Yeah.
So you've got,
and then Hooda at 7.
That means for you, Deepak Hooda and Maxwell, between them, have to bowl 4 overs every day.
Yeah.
Every game for you. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've chosen Ravi Bishnoi over, let's say, why didn't you choose like a Krishnappa Gautam?
Well, I think Bishnoi to start with, obviously, he's had a really successful, under 19 World Cup. I think, obviously, being a leg spinner, I think he can start off well. And I think just kind of he fits in well with the bowling lineup at the moment. But I think, obviously, there's lots of flexibility with the Indian bowlers because no one's really cemented their place. No one's done anything to kind of, kind of have a few bad games. So I think a couple of bad games, if he has, he can easily be subbed out later. But I think to start with, that's what I would go with, just given his under 19 World Cup success. And that was also in Australia, I believe, or New Zealand. So on those tracks, if you manage to get so much per chase, I think in the UAE, he can be a handful.
Fair enough.
I think that there's not enough bowling in that team at all. I don't think you can rely on Hooda and Maxwell to bowl 4 overs in each game.
Like
to not go at 10 and over. I mean, that's...
Yeah. And with Ravi as well, like...
Yeah, Ravi Bishnoi has played 60-20s.
Yeah. I feel like you're really you can't, like, that'd be fine if, like, your batsmen have gone and, like, knocked, like, 250 or something like that, like, a really high score. But I don't know, in low-scoring matches if that kind of a team can...
The team of Kings 11 this year is seeming a bit like what RCB have been in the past.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of be fair, I think, I think another example would be kind of RCB's use of Washington Sundar. I don't think he's really a fantastic bowler, but I think he manages to bowl 3-4 overs pretty much every game. He doesn't really turn the ball much. He just kind of goes there, darts it in straight at the stumps. I think if he can kind of be used like that, I think Punjab will be hoping maybe Maxwell, if he can bowl a couple of overs a game, then perhaps play a similar role or come into that.
He's played as a bowler for India, though, like literally a bowler.
Yeah.
Like he's not in the Indian team for his...
Of course. When he first came in, right, he wasn't like, no one really knew much about him. Of course,
he's saying he's a similar kind of bowler, basically, I think.
And then, like, if you saw him, like, when he first came in, he must have faced similar criticism in terms of, he's not really anything special. How does he make the 11? So I think there is obviously potential for, someone to develop as a bowler as the season goes. But yeah, there are obviously risks of that happening as well. And there's plenty of people who've tried doing that and been sent, not been able to keep up to the standard.
Fair enough.
Right. I think that to equate Maxwell and Washington Sundar is criminal. Washington Sundar bowls 3.5 overs on average a game for India, and Glenn Maxwell bowls 2.4 overs on average in T20 for Australia. They are not nearly the same bowler. Washington Sundar has bowled in almost every game he's played for India, whereas Glenn Maxwell's bowled in 66%, around 66%, so around 2/3 of the games that he's played for Australia in T20Is. Glenn Maxwell's economy rate is nearly 7.5, it's 7.41, and Washington Sundar's is under 7, it's 6.93. So I don't know how you can equate the two bowlers, especially when Washington Sundar bowls in the power play, generally speaking, and then bowls a little bit in the middle, where Glenn Maxwell is sort of like a in-between bowler in the middle overs.
Please keep it up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure. Yeah, no.
You know,
Okay, I guess.
I'll just
I
I'll just say one final comment. I think obviously I think means like compared like the bowling as such, just kind of saying the roles as a thing. I think Maxwell obviously is a batting all rounder, whereas Washington Sundar is obviously a bowling all rounder. So there are differences there. But I think between him and Hooda, I think you could probably get away a few games with them being your fifth bowler. Perhaps a few games you could get away with it, but it might not be a long-term strategy throughout the season, and that's why perhaps Mujib would slot in. I think the first game, if you start that, I think teams have done that before, and it is a potential start to see how it goes. I think obviously just a final point on Washington Sundar as well. I think obviously he's played for India, he's bowled, but I think he's only played against kind of West Indies and New Zealand at the moment, so he hasn't really played all of the countries. He hasn't had an extended T20 career. So I think just to say he's a great T20 bowler at the moment is
That's
quite a big
okay. You
thing
have
to
We're
me.
not saying, that's not what we're saying.
And I'm saying that he's also had like a limited international career, and obviously I think he's a bowling all rounder. He's done a great job, but there is potential for perhaps Maxwell maybe not do as good of a job. But
West
if you can
Indies
go,
is a great T20 team.
Yeah, and Washington
Guys,
Sundar has bowled only 100 less balls in T20 than Glenn Maxwell. Glenn Maxwell has played 63 or 60 plus T20s, and Washington Sundar's played 24. So like,
Okay.
and sorry, I must say Deepak Hooda as well has only bowled in a third of the T20s, not in the T20Is, like just the T20s, like even domestic T20s that he's played, and IPL, including the IPL. I know he hasn't. That's what I'm saying. Like he's only in his subset is only domestic T20s, and he's only bowled in 1/3 of them. So he'll bowl even less in the IPL. So I don't really know. And his economy rate is 7.8. Like I don't know. I don't know about this team.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,